Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another exciting episode of Vash Sky ParkCast, or should I say, Skyliners out there. Yes, we put it to a poll. We asked you what you wanted to see from the show in terms of an audience nickname, and Skyliners was the one that was chosen overwhelmingly, and I think it's very actually appropriate right there. Skyliners, Vash Sky. I think it's pretty cool, pretty awesome stuff. We have had tremendous growth over here on this channel. Thanks to all of you. I want to go ahead and thank each and every one of you for not just tuning in week after week after week, but also to hitting that subscribe button, getting the notification bell on there. It's just been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for supporting us in the way that you are. It is absolutely tremendous. And we're going to celebrate tomorrow at Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern to celebrate basically all of you and what you've accomplished here on this channel. I think it's absolutely tremendous, and I cannot wait. But first and foremost, though, we're going to have a celebration of our own. Today, we're going to celebrate somebody who is making tremendous waves within this community, and that is Drew, the Disney dude. You know him, you love him. Folks, we have, I think we've featured him on the various channels like WDW Pro and That Park Place multiple times, at least his work, but never the man himself. Now, we're going to go ahead and bring him right to you. It is the man of the hour, Drew. Hello there, sir. How's everything going today with you?
I can't complain. We got a fun conversation today. There's been so much going on in the world of Disney lately that I've kind of felt overwhelmed. Like I don't know where to start with covering things. But yeah, like you said, we've been familiar and have respected each other's content for years now. You know, think back to like early 2024. So to finally get to talk to you and introduce myself to your audience in this way, I think is pretty cool. So thank you for bringing me on, and looking forward to talking about Disneyland and Walt Disney World and whatever else we cover in this hour. So
I think it's going to be absolutely tremendous. I cannot wait to get into so much of this stuff because, man, there have been some moves. And look, we have covered a lot of moves by the Walt Disney Company over the last couple of years, and some of those things, they weren't moves that we. Yeah, they weren't moves that we were particularly fond of, and we have more to cover, unfortunately, on that front. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Maybe put some positive spins related to those stories. But there's also a lot of positivity going on, which we definitely have to highlight. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and let me see if I can share my screen right here to get to our first story. There we go, and I believe we have a couple of people in the background. I don't know if they want to necessarily come on. I'll go ahead and oh yes, okay, all right. We have somebody. We have the one, the only Erika from Erika and Ref. Hello there, Erika. Come on over here. I believe you dyed your hair, Erika.
Yes.
Is that what I'm gathering there? Yeah.
I went blonde.
Looks good.
Oh, hello.
It looks really good.
Thank
Drew,
you.
right there. He appreciates it as well.
You know what the theme park industry is missing? Banana pudding. But there's a big but to this. You make it with Biscoff cookies.
Ooh,
those are good.
Oh, you
I'll not deny that.
You have no idea what a game changer that is.
Erika's eating good in the neighborhood right here. That is fantastic.
Yes.
And obviously our lovely producer, MJ. Hello there, MagicalyMJ. How are you doing today?
Hi, guys. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Hi, Drew. Hi, Vash and Erika.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And joining us, maybe a little bit later, but joining us nonetheless, he wanted to be on the show so badly because he knew that Drew was coming on. It is the one, the only Ron from Follow the Bradley's Fun. Hello there, Ron.
What's up,
What is
Ron?
going on today, good sir?
I made it.
Man
Can you hear
has
me?
arrived.
What's up, Drew?
Absolutely.
I can hear you. And now we got a squad of 5. We've got a quint.
Yes.
A
Yes.
squad.
Get a squad of 5.
So Drew, I don't think Drew knows this. Drew, the last time I saw you was literally minutes after I walked away from MJ at Hollywood Studios.
Okay, now I'm realizing who you were saying hi to. But yeah, when was that? A few weeks ago? That was pretty recent.
Yeah,
It was in January. I think the end of January.
Yeah, time's flying. I don't know when things are happening anymore. I'm just waking up and realizing it's already March 4th and Runaway Railway opened 6 years ago today.
Whoa! I did not know that.
Years.
That is
Yeah, time is a miss
crazy.
lately.
Time flies by.
I think I still have my
Right.
cast member ticket for that.
Yeah, like the actual movie ticket. Those are cool.
In back in
those were-
February at some
Yeah,
point, I thought it was March. I was a whole month ahead of myself. I don't even know how I did that.
Could you imagine Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway opens at Disney Hollywood Studios, obviously replacing the Great Movie Ride, which is very unfortunate, but opens and gets a lot of fanfare. Everybody's rushing out. Everybody's excited. They want to be there. Then we know what happens later on that March. Ooh, not so good, especially Disneyland. But c'est la vie. Oh, man.
yeah.
What a time. What a time. Well, unfortunately, we have other closures to cover. Here we go from allears.net. The crowds are rocking for the closure of this popular Disney World ride. I do believe, Drew, you were actually there on closing day.
I was there.
Which was, I think, March 1st. Is that right?
Yep, just a few days ago. But how was that even a few days? It feels like yesterday, but it was already a few days ago.
It is so crazy right there. Well, as much as we can't believe it, the day has finally come. Today is Disney Hollywood Studios' iconic ride closes forever. Rock and Roller Coaster currently stars Aerosmith, but after today, the current version of the ride will close to be rethemed into Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. We'll be in the park all day to bring you the latest updates, as it's expected to get pretty intense, especially as we approach the final ride of the night. You can see right there just the crazy amount of crowds that actually came out to support this amazing attraction right there. There's no doubt about that. Crowds, more crowds, but when this actually closed, it's just very interesting. Disney didn't waste any time getting rid of the Aerosmith branding. They took that off immediately, which they might have been contractually obligated to do, but it's still kind of a sad sight to actually see. Drew, tell us your thoughts on the final day, how that went, how did operations go? Was it actually handled accordingly, or was it just mass chaos? Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think they did a great job with it, and just the fact we got lucky that it didn't go down. There was no downtimes, no temporary closures. That's something that I always worry about with these closing days, is that you have thousands of people at the park, and everyone always wants to get in line at 8:59 p.m. right before it closes, and then you're running that risk of it goes down, and then everyone doesn't get to go on for quote unquote one last ride. But yeah, I think they cut the line a couple minutes early, but I think they gave plenty of warning from the people I know that were at the very end. I got in line like 20 minutes before it closed, just because I didn't want to deal with that final rush. Yeah, I guess like for closing day, it was fine. I think the only disappointing thing that happened before closing day was obviously the pre-show got cut and no one knew that was happening. I would have loved more communication on that. And
Yeah.
I like the decision, like keep the coaster open, get to work on the Muppets as quickly as possible. I like the choice. I just don't like that it wasn't communicated. But yeah, closing day was fun. I think the dinosaur had a lot more energy and heart to it than Rock this, because like the coaster's saying, you know, it's not Aerosmith anymore, but it's still a rock and roller coaster at the end of the day. So yeah, I think I had much more fun at Dinosaur and everything else. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I guess it's cool to say goodbye to something that's been here for a while.
People were comparing the closures of these two attractions, Dinosaur and Rock and Roller Coaster, because they happened so rapidly, one after the other right there. And people were saying, oh, look, Rock and Roller Coaster, it never went over a certain wait time, and Dinosaur's wait time was so much higher. And it's like, you're talking about a coaster, which has pretty good throughput versus, I know Dinosaur is very similar to Indiana Jones, that tops out maybe 1,600 if you're really lucky, if you're really pushing people through. It's not quite the same, and I know people really spread out their visitation to Rock and Roller Coaster versus Dinosaur. They really came for that final day, which was very cold, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it was freezing, but a part of me kind of loved that because it made it more memorable. Like the fact that it was so cold for Floridians, but still the fact that everyone was there and the line was stretching outside of Dinoland when it closed, I think is just a testament to how beloved Dinosaur was. The Dinosaur is one of my all-time favorites, but also I just think the fact that, like I said, Rock and Roller Coaster, it's mostly the same, whereas Dinosaur, you would never know that Dinosaur was ever there when it reopens next year's Indiana Jones. So I feel like part of that could play in the crowd levels too. But people love Aerosmith, and obviously it's just kind of like that emotional attachment that comes involved with it. So yeah, I'm glad that everyone got to say goodbye to it without any downtime, any delays. Everything was pretty smooth, and they had a plan that was executed pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and here's the thing, folks. I mean, I love going on Rock and Roller Coaster when I was a kid. I think the first time I visited when I was, I believe, 12, and it was an awesome coaster. It's very cool. It has gotten a little rougher over the years, though.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of, later Vekoma coasters, which, they kind of don't age well. Oh, please, Brad. Ron, please.
I was just going to say, Dinosaur may have had a long line in the last few days, but I mean, if you really wanted to go on it a week earlier, there was no wait. You know, I mean, that like the last month of Dinosaur prior to the last few days, I mean, it was like 5-minute wait or less. There was a couple times I was out there, and the last time I rode it was a few months ago, Dinosaur. Rock and Roller Coaster has been a while, but I do have a great memory of Rock and Roller Coaster. One time, I was there on one of those days, and this was with my older son. So this is a few years back, but we went up to Rock and Roller Coaster, and it was on a temporary ride closure. And so we went up to the cast members that were at that line, and we're like, do you have any idea how long the downtime is going to be? She's like, we really don't know. Just, you'll have to check back with us. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I'm getting the notification that we can reopen. I'm like, we were right there. And so my older son and I got to be the first people to go back on it when it reopened, which was very cool. And when you have like literally no line in front of you, but it's actually the middle of the day. So it's not like a rope drop thing, but it was like a rope drop for the reopen of that line, which was a surprise and very cool moment. So Rock and Roller Coaster holds very good memories for me. Man, this is the line for the last day.
Yes. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Wild.
Wow. Yeah, it was a 3-hour wait, from my understanding.
That looks like the line for Fantasmic at night. That's how
it does.
It lines up there. But the longest line, it doesn't beat the longest line I've ever seen in Walt Disney World. And I don't know if Drew was there on this day, but the longest line I ever saw was the line for the Figment popcorn bucket. 8 hours.
I was not there, and I'm glad I was not. I'm not even at Epcot today for Flower and Garden because, in my opinion, I think every festival is very overhyped except for Festival of the Arts, and it's way too short. So it's like, I don't know. I'm seeing all these photos from Flower and Garden today, and I'm like Communicore Hall looks the same as it did last year, but Festival of the Arts, there was actually a lot of effort put into making it look different. So I don't know. I don't get the Flower and Garden hype by any means. I'd much rather be talking to you guys.
Absolutely. I do agree with that.
Glad you're here.
People bringing up their memories right here. John Shea Campbell. I forgot this one had an inversion right at the start. I somehow caught my glasses in midair. It was dark, but in my head awesome. It was epic.
Or a point right there.
I lost sunglasses on that ride as well. Rest in peace, sunglasses.
Absolutely. No, it's absolutely crazy. I love this attraction so much, and it's got those oversized props in there and everything like that. And here's the thing, folks, to put a semi-positive spin on it, at least to start out with, Disney had been looking at this attraction for years and going like, okay, like who are we going to replace? Because Aerosmith was definitely a product of like the 80s and 90s, and it's like, okay, going into the modern era, it's like, do we go with another band? I remember concepts for Jonas Brothers back in the day and so forth. I think
remember that one?
Yeah, there might have been that
Hannah Montana. Or Miley Cyrus. I got scared about that talk.
Thank God they didn't do that.
I can understand that. Treasure State Campbell, ironically enough, talking about hey, Queen, might not be a bad thing to actually incorporate in this attraction. But you can see that they were going with the IP thing right from jump, because we saw that with the Disneyland Paris version of this attraction, right? How they reimagined that into a Marvel attraction, which didn't go extremely well. Now it's going to be Muppets. True, a lot of people have skepticism about whether or not the Muppets actually fit in this venue, and what may have motivated the decision in general. Do you think this is going to fit this attraction? Do you think that Disney is really giving something to the fans, or is it maybe in relation to the backlash they may have received from the closure of Muppet Vision 3D? Because you remember, we didn't hear about a Muppets overlay for Rock and Roller Coaster at D23 Expo. That came later. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think this is, like you said, I think that they knew that saying goodbye to Muppet Vision wasn't going to go over well. So how do you bring the Muppets back in the quickest way possible? Well, you get rid of the Aerosmith licensing, which clearly they don't want anymore, and then you bring the Muppets back into the park. The way I look at it, too, is that why have Aerosmith in the park when you can bring your own IP that you own back into the park? There's no secret these days that what Disney does is all business driven. Everything is IP based. It gets the return on investment They're getting
Correct.
a 3-time return on investment with everything that they're doing in the parks right now. And I think that there's even potential to make that 3 turn into a 4 and a 5 in the future. So yeah, I think this was probably Josh tomorrow saying, well, people aren't going to be happy with this. They're going to like the door coaster, but they're going to be sad about Muppet Vision. How do we bring them back as quickly as possible while also keeping something mostly the same? And that's probably the recipe that we got for Rock and Roller Coaster. Now, for me personally, I never loved Muppet Vision. Like, I enjoyed the show. I was sad to say goodbye to it because it's been a part of my, it was a part of my entire childhood and life. But I'm not going to pretend I was some diehard fan of Muppet Vision by any means. So me personally, I'm going to enjoy this more because you're bringing animatronics into a space that hasn't had animatronics before. And just like the humor of those characters, whatever they do with the Muppets, I feel like now I'm going to enjoy more than something that I felt was outdated. Now, I know people are going to disagree with me there. That's totally okay. I have no problem with anyone disagreeing with me. I prefer this, Though, again, last thing I'll say here is the only issue I have with this project is that you're putting the Muppets behind a height requirement, whereas with Muppet Vision, an entire family could walk into the theater and have fun. That's something that I said back that I still think holds true. But I think there's potential to do even more in the future. And I think this is just the start. I just wrote about that on Substack. So giving a little bit of grace there. But yeah, you're putting something behind a height requirement that kids are going to want to probably go on. And, how do you explain that one?
Right, and that was some of the issues related to Tiana back in the day, where you have this princess character who everybody wants to see, and especially little girls, but unfortunately they couldn't because of that height requirement, which was really unfortunate. In this way, a similar thing, and that's a really astute point, Drew, that you actually bring out. Look, at least my love of the Muppets came a little bit later. We had them at DCA. And obviously they took him away there. So the I don't know, the heart grows fonder when something like that goes away, maybe, or maybe my opinions about humor changes. I don't know, but I did like the Muppets, at least at the very end right there. I didn't quite see necessarily the value in taking it away. I think you could have maybe incorporated that into Monsters Inc. if you were really clever, but say Levy, it is gone. And to Ron's point, actually, that he brought up about Dinosaur and Rock and Roller Coaster, I think diminished in terms of demand over the years, and maybe that's related to its theme. And they did do temporary overlays over the years, so there's potential there. Also, to Dinosaur, I mean, the wait time was almost nothing at the very end right there.
Indiana Jones,
some of it was walk on.
Yeah, as much as I love Dinosaur, again, it was a personal favorite. Indiana Jones is going to be a big upgrade, like. Right. As much as I would love having an original attraction in 2026 or 2027 or 2028, because these parks were born on that originality, like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean and all those classics that made Disney is what it is today. I'll always come back to that thought is like, yes, I understand that the IPs make money. I can't blame these executives for doing that. That's their entire job. I get it. But I do wish that here and there we saw a little bit more originality just sprinkled in, because if Walt Disney didn't take those risks, as you see in Disneyland Handcrafted, and truly how much of a risk it was, like you don't have this IP today. So I always go back and forth on that. But yeah, I'm just hopeful that they deliver on the humor.
A question for you: What do you think?
Yes, sir.
What do you think is the likelihood or even possibility that they might eventually expand Muppets back into the area where they've currently got the Villain show? We know that Villain's Land is eventually going to open. That theater, of course, has housed many different things over the years. I used to go to the Darth Mall back there during the Star Wars Weekends days. Is it? Do you think it's possible? Like, if people, I think maybe they might wait and see how well the Muppets was received on the coaster. Because I think that depending on how they do the overlay, they might go, well, okay, it's being well received, so we want to do more with Muppets, or it's not as well received. Maybe we want to change over to Powerline or something else. Because I've heard so many different things about that area back there, and it's kind of flexible. Do you think they may leave it alone or change it, or what do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I think long-term this will become Muppets Courtyard 2.0, but I don't think Muppet Vision's coming back. I think it will be a brand new show because, again, if you're looking at what makes sense for Disney, the thing that they're going to do is probably, again, I'm just speculating, I'm not saying this is happening by any means, is that if they greenlight a new season of The Muppet Show as a whole, then you can bring back a new show, and that's going to get people to walk to the back of the park, not bringing back something that's already existed. What does this say? I'm sorry. I wanted to read that comment. Do you mind?
Oh, go ahead, MJ. Bring it back up here. Sargon
I mean, yeah.
says,
I understand about the whole final project thing. I totally understand why people are sad to see it go. I can only speak for myself. For me, saying goodbye to Muppet Vision, I was like, yeah, that was a fun part of my childhood, but I'd much rather have a Monsters Inc. coaster here. And again, I know people are gonna be like, how could you say that? Personally, I have no problem with having an opinion. At the end of the day, it's an opinion. I'm not saying I agree with me. But yeah, and also like people don't like Kermit's voice. I'm just like, this is just the new Kermit. Like, just like I've gotten used to Rocket Raccoon and Guardians at Epcot. Like, I don't know, I'm so laid back that these things don't bother me personally. But if it does for you, that's totally fine. And I also like varying opinions, because if we all thought the same way, what is the point of living?
Yeah, it's a very good point, Drew. And to people who may have didn't hear that comment, maybe aren't watching. Sargon 2008 says one issue with Drew's point is that Movie Vision 3D is that it was the final project that Jim Henson had done, and the final time hearing Jim Henson, and I don't want to hear Matt Vogel's Kermit in the ride. All solid points, no question about that. I think Drew, though, you got to think there are going to be a segment of Walt Disney World fans who maybe necessarily don't have the same feeling listening to some of these attractions, right? And so I think Disney is taking that into account. And as tough as these things may be, they are making some of these decisions with those guests in mind, and they obviously want repeat visitation, and so that's why they're doing all of this.
Yeah,
I still think there was a way to incorporate all this stuff, but again, these are decisions actually made right there, and it's just super unfortunate. By the way, if you guys want to see Drew's amazing comments on this and much more, he's got a Substack out there. We're talking about one of his articles for sure.
Yeah, that's my point with this article was like, give people the facts, because I feel like something that I try to do is bring up the news like again once it's relevant, and I figured it's closing, why not bring up the facts? So the entire storyline for this coaster when it reopens isn't there, but more like, if, like you said, Vash, if this is a success, and Ron said this too, then you could do more. And I think that the more connected the Walt Disney Studios are with the parks, the more potential there is to get a new theater show, to bring back them up at Mobile Lab. Like, it doesn't have to be $100 million thing. Like, just bringing back them up at Mobile Lab or some puppets throughout, like, people are going to love that. It doesn't have to be this fancy over-the-top edition. Sometimes if you do like 5 smaller things, it will make just as big of an impact as this big, fancy, shiny new thing. So my thoughts with that Substack article, which I would appreciate it if you guys read it, is just think about this as a kickstart to what could come with more Muppet Show, more stuff at Hollywood Studios. And again, what gets them back in the park as fast as possible? This. It's not necessarily the end. It's more of just, hey, we're going to start here. We can look at this later down the road too.
It's a fair point right there. Erika, I want to go ahead and involve you in the conversation now. What were your thoughts on Rock and Roller Coaster? Do you think this was a wise move to move on from Aerosmith in the way they did? Do you think Muppets will be successfully incorporated in this attraction? Your thoughts, please.
I have mixed emotions. I feel like Gen Z and Gen Alpha are they're not, the Muppets isn't really much on the radar with them. Unless parents at home were intentional on bringing these characters and their movies, in front of them when they were little. I'm guilty as charged. I didn't really go out of my way. So my son, who's in his early 20s, he's like, meh. My nieces and nephews, who are all Gen Alpha, it's not really on the map for them. They're into anime and other IPs. So, as far as the retheme, it was a last minute reactive decision on Disney's part to mitigate the backlash. I don't agree with it, because Muppets is supposed to be for all ages, tots all the way up to adults. And you're basically putting an IP onto a roller coaster, which is a very niche attraction. Not everybody can go on a roller coaster. I don't agree with the retheme. The coaster itself is great. It's a great roller coaster, nothing wrong with it. But I mean, yeah. And I get Drew's sentiment on the whole. I get it. Like, I'm back and forth. On the one hand, I'm like a Henson fan. On the other hand, I'm not like a uber crazy fan. But I will miss. I will miss basically the nostalgic of it, because I grew up going and seeing the show, and it was a nice break from the air conditioning. And once you get in there and the Muppets start going and they're bantering, it's funny, and you get into it. And but I don't know. In part, this is Disney's fault why there's not more of a fan base of the Muppets, because they haven't done anything with the IP themselves. So they can't blame people for kind of walking away. It's like, well, you did nothing to put it in front of people for them to carry it on. You just kind of left it. It just hung out there dormant for years. And in the meantime, the rest of Hollywood and theme parks came out with other characters and stories that the last 2 generations have gravitated to. So this really falls on Disney, not the customer, not the guest. But, they're not going to admit that. They're not, it's never their fault. Unfortunately, is a trend and attitude with them in the company, is that it's never their fault.
Yeah, I mean, that's, when let's say, in this instance, when the Muppets were acquired by Disney, I think, especially moving on from the Michael Eisner era to the Bob Iger era, I think they were a little bit mixed on that property and didn't quite know how to incorporate it into the Disney brand, didn't know how to quite execute on it the same way that maybe they did with Star Wars initially, certainly Marvel, right? They're trying to go back and trying to do some interesting things with the Muppets currently, with like the Muppet Show, for example, and maybe with this attraction right here. But I will say that the Muppets themselves haven't maybe been properly fostered, right? That relationship with them, I think, hasn't been cultivated to the extent that maybe they deserve. And so, Disney's doing something about it now. We'll see how successful they are. Aerosmith, I think, was always going to go away eventually. I don't think it was always going to be there.
Yeah, that was contractual. There was always like an end date on that.
Right. And especially with some of the controversies surrounding some of those bandmates and so forth, it's like, it's more of a reason to maybe disassociate. The company thinking on celebrities and so forth is so radically changed from the Michael Eisner era, right?
Yeah.
And so I think all this was going to come into a head eventually. At least in this way, we still get the Muppets in some venue, right? At least they still exist in some capacity. And hey, look, we'll have to see how great the execution actually is. Go ahead, Erika. Last thought, and then we're going to move on to our next topic.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with an older, like maybe Michael Jackson or Elvis for a retheme, because you're talking, the two of them are just legends and they're not with us anymore. I don't know, maybe they tried and we just don't know it. Maybe there were issues there with, getting rights or whatever. I don't know what all is involved in that, especially when the artist is passed on. But that would have been really cool, because it kind of goes not so much 1920s Hollywood that the park was originally themed in, but it does bring a sense of some kind of music nostalgia, that it's not so super modern. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, and it's always going to be a licensing deal. I thought they inherited the Queen stuff from the 20th Century Fox acquisition.
I thought that's what we were getting for a while. There was heavy rumors about Queen, and then that didn't happen. That would have been a good one too. If you want to keep in the genre of rock, that would have worked.
Well, we're going IP. We're going IP. Everything's got to be IP, as you know. Some of those IPs stronger than others, perhaps. But hey, the Muppets at least live on, at least in part, at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Speaking of IP, we got IP coming to Disneyland. We just got a front row seat here, provided by. Look at that guy. I think that's Drew Smith over there, providing some a link to a video in which we are taking through the construction site of Avengers Campus and that attraction, Infinity Defense, going up there at Disney California Adventure. The show building, at least to my eyes, looks a little small, but we fortunately we have Drew to kind of suss out what's fact, what's fiction, because there was a lot of talk, Drew. I don't know if you saw this, but OC Register actually published an article saying, "Hey, this is $60 million expansion," and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, hang on.
No way.
What? No, that's not quite true.
No.
This is sourced from a Mouse Planet article that sources it from a permit that says, hey, the permit is valued $60 million. This is for the show building, maybe some restrooms and so forth, but not for ride vehicles, interior set pieces, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, let's be fair here. It's not going to be 60 million. And some people are going, wow, 60 million's a lot. Actually, it's not, right? British Wings Racers, I think, valued now is well over $600 million in terms of an investment. So that's kind of the numbers we're talking about right here. But I want to kind of go to you, Drew, not only on this particular aspect, but also to your amazing article. Maybe, I don't know, hinting at a new ride system distinct from what we had heard was allegedly the ride system, that being the what they did over there at Tokyo Disney Seas in their Fantasy Springs area with Peter Pan, right? This might actually be unique from that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so something that, again, like that $60 million, I'll be very clear, like that's just part of the budget. That's they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on just these two rides. I think that article mentioned that the show building is like 110,000 square feet, and the large majority of that is being dedicated to Infinity Defense. And another thing with this project too is I'm seeing so much talk about like the screens in this ride, but one of the first things the Walt Disney Imagineering ever shared for Infinity Defense was that it's going to have large scale built environments. That was one of the first details. So it's very much Rise of the Resistance, but with current technology. And then again, all these heroes in one attraction. So yeah. And then just like the latest thing that Thomas Maslum said at that Disneyland business update that I attended is that he compared this to not only Rise of the Resistance, but that it's going to be the next prototype ride. So it might take a little bit longer to kind of get that off the ground, which again, Disney's aware that of the downtimes and how that negatively impacts the guest experience. That's something that they're working on right now, is attraction reliability and availability. That's a big initiative at Disneyland specifically. But yeah, just like knowing that they're really aiming big for this ride. And yes, you're going to have the screens, but in my opinion, it's not necessarily screens. It's how are the screens integrated? You know, on Rise of the Resistance, I'm not mad that there's a massive screen in the hangar bay when you get off the transport ship, because it works when you come into space and there's all these stormtroopers in front of you, or even, you know, when you're kind of going right before you see Kylo Ren and you have those screens and you're looking into space, like it works. So yes, you're going to have digital elements, but again, it's how are they integrated? And if they're kind of like adding depth to the scene, you have these full built effects like you've seen in something like Horizon or like Pirates of the Caribbean, like we just saw on screen over in Shanghai. Well, that's what you need, and I think we are going to get that. But again, like we don't have a ton of details yet, so only time will tell. But my big takeaway is prototype ride and some variants of something that we've seen to Peter Pan over in Tokyo. That is a good sign. Now he could have misspoke, but I know what I heard, and he was very clearly saying that this is a new ride system, not just to Disneyland, but worldwide. So again, he could have misspoke, and he could have meant it's a never before seen ride system just at Disneyland Resort, but we'll see. I guess we'll kind of have to wait till August, and if they follow up on that, or if it's just like, oh, that we meant just for Disneyland. So I know what I heard though, and I can only report on what I was told.
What's the theme of this ride? Like, do we have a storyline, or what is supposed to be going on?
Yes, roughly. Drew, you want to take us through that?
Yeah, it's like a multi-world adventure. So King Thanos is like the main villain, which supposedly King Thanos was originally supposed to be for Cosmic Rewind here, but they couldn't get him in with the licensing or with the Mississippi River and all that stuff. So they took King Thanos to Infinity Defense, and he has supposedly stolen the technology that allows the Avengers and all these heroes to transport between worlds. So then we have to go get him, and we have to go get that technology back. And then throughout the way, you're going to go to like Wakanda, New York, like all the iconic locations that are well known throughout the MCU. So it's like a big battle. You know, in Rise of the Resistance, Kylo Ren's chasing you. Here we're chasing Thanos. Similar, it's a lot of similarities there, but again, at the end of the day, how much can you do in a 5-minute long attraction? Like there's only so many creative depths that you can really expand into. But yeah, I'm optimistic for this one. And whenever I see a show building over 100,000 square feet, that makes me happy alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually a huge footprint. We have seen the buildings out there in Vildesland, for example, grow, but none of them quite over that 100,000 mark. So this is a big facility right here, and it's going to play host to not only 2 separate attractions, really, with Infinity Defense, and also to Stark Flight Lab, but also to, I think, a restroom facility, which Avengers Campus desperately needs because it was a holdover. The bathroom facility that they have there was a holdover from Bugsland, and the demand is very different with something like this. Yeah, exactly. And then I think it's going to have employee facilities and so forth. So it's a they're utilizing that footprint to the maximum extent possible. That kind of remainder of the Timon lot as it butts up against the Racers and Cars line. But yeah, I know this attraction has changed multiple times.
Yeah,
the story I think sounds interesting. At least what I'm hearing, Drew. I've heard that the big Ant-Man animatronic that they were going to have in there has now been substituted for a screen. I don't necessarily know if it's heading in the right direction. Are you still optimistic about this attraction? Do you think it'll be the payoff that Marvel fans have been looking for from Disney for years now at the domestic parks?
I hope so, but again, I feel like I'm not going to be too confident until like D23, where they share like more concept art, more specifics. Because we do have a lot of details for this ride. Like, we don't usually get these behind the scenes clips, probably over 2 years before they open. But I do feel like as these projects develop a little bit further and they start to share more tidbits, and then you can kind of put an entire pie together, an entire puzzle together. That's what I'm kind of waiting for. But yeah, I mean, the way that I guess, again, if I'm just sharing what Thomas Maslam said at Disneyland, like the fact that he was kind of comparing this to Disney's next step and how it's going to be like that big prototype thing where they're taking big risks. Like, to me,
like Rise.
Yeah, like that sounds good, and like Rise of the Resistance, I feel like is widely regarded as one of Disney's best rides. Like, I think it's a fantastic attraction, and just like utilizing multiple ride systems to where it's not just like cookie cutter. We've done this before, but you're doing a technological breakthrough in some way, and if that's the next generation of what we've seen over in Tokyo with Peter Pan, but more physical, more real world environments, I think that's what Disneyland needs. Especially because Disneyland doesn't have that expansion space like Walt Disney World has, where you can just
does not,
like, everything at Disneyland is much more important. You can't half-ass it. Like, you have to get this right. And I think that also could be a good thing about how it's gone through multiple versions, is that hopefully they're very confident in this version and bringing everything together, and then having those big Thanos figures throughout. Like, that's what we need. So I'm hoping they deliver on that. But again, I'm an optimist. That's just how I am. I like to enjoy things in life, and I'm sure I'm going to love this ride. But I do hope it leans more into the physical things, because that's the whole point of going to a theme park, is feeling like you're really in this world and not staring at a screen.
I hope so. I mean, look, I've been hearing about a Marvel attraction for this space for, gosh, I mean, I don't know, it's got to be 10 years, if not more. Like, I've been hearing about something in this space for a long, long time, and I think when Avengers Campus opened, it just, maybe it wasn't worth the wait. And I know it was going to, at one point going to take place in Hollywood Land, and they had to switch it up because of Eastern Gateway and all these different things. But it's like, people, I think some people at least are excited about the prospect of Marvel coming into the parks. It's just, I don't think we've really been given that, banger of an attraction. Cosmic Rewind is absolutely phenomenal, but I think the unique aspect of that attraction being the spinner coaster aspect, I think, is almost a bigger draw than the IP itself. I don't think it necessarily leverages the IP to the extent that it possibly could. So I think people are really putting a lot on this and seeing if this actually plays up to people's expectations. Erika, I know you're not a fan of Marvel being incorporated in the parks. Hey, you know what? You obviously have your opinion on that, which I think it somewhat I share. Others, it's like, okay, maybe we can do this successfully. Would if this is really groundbreaking, no matter the IP, would it get you to come out to Disneyland just to experience the groundbreakingness of it, or do you think it will always be hindered by its IP in your eyes?
I am fascinated with the ride system, and and to the core, I am a theme park enthusiast, so I can put IPs to the side and what doesn't thematically fit for someone's anyway. I'm intrigued by what I'm seeing on screen. Is Disney essentially creating an attraction that's going to be a cross between some of our thrills, what they used to have at Epcot. Oh, and
So
then there's the Hogwarts journey, because I'm seeing that the claw with the with the seats, and
so this role might be a little deceiving because there's two attractions. One is Stark Flight Lab, which is going to be your kind of Kuka Arm attraction, right?
Okay.
And the other is going to be your Infinity Defense, your big e-ticket attraction featuring a ride system that might be, well, they're, according to Thomas Moslem anyway, and Drew's excellent reporting, maybe a prototype ride system based loosely off of perhaps the Peter Pan ride system that was employed for Fantasy Springs over there at Tokyo Disney. That's what they might be.
I've been out of the loop a hot minute there. I need to
go
on YouTube and watch it. But I love what Universal's bringing to the table with some of these new ride systems. And it's kind of surprising that, well, for one, I wish Disney had been the ones to pioneer and start that trend. And it kind of hurts to see Disney feel like they're just copying somebody else, but it is what it is. This is where the industry is right now, technologically speaking, and with attractions. So I'm not surprised that they're finally coming on board and creating an attraction that has that kind of ride system. They need it because they have to compete with their competitor, and they are fun. I love I forgot the name of it, the Hogwarts journey. I love that ride. I've only been on it once, but I have never forgotten it. It is just seared in my head, and I can't wait to go back and ride it. And I know I'm going to love Gringotts. Maybe Disney is making its way to doing something like that with this other Marvel. Is it going to be like Gringotts? Great. I cannot talk tonight.
It's supposed to be something wholly unique. I think it might be more on the motion simulator aspect than the coaster aspect, like we see out
like
there
a combination
with
of
Green
the two,
Dots.
Maybe.
They're not
That
really
would
saying.
be interesting.
They're not really saying. They're
that's
being a little
good.
cagey with this. Yeah. Well,
I'm not a Marvel fan. I'm not one for. I don't think Marvel should be anywhere near Disney theme parks. It's just like, it's not Mickey, it's not Tinkerbell, it's not Walt, so it doesn't even belong there. But that's beside the point. It's there. We have to live with it.
Sure.
And because it is Marvel, if you are going to do attractions, I think they should be on that. They should be pushing the envelope with the technology because it is Marvel.
And
I,
on the other hand, I wish I have wished since the beginning that Disney could do Marvel over here at Walt Disney World, because I so want there to be a Wakanda in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Just like a secret entrance from the back of Africa into Wakanda would be cool if they were allowed to do that. And only having Guardians Cosmic Rewind, which is it's a great ride. It's, people have said, okay, well, it doesn't fit with the old theme of Epcot, and I totally understand, but I also kind of like how they did their best to incorporate the story where, Star-Lord, when he was a kid, went to Epcot, and he was so fascinated with it that he now thinks it's really cool that he's got some type of something there in Epcot. I thought that was a good tie-in. And so, it's funny because we have Universal, we have Marvel Superhero Island at Universal, but that particular Marvel is themed to the 90s comics, and it kind of has to stay there because of the way the
contract
right, the license, exactly. So, and that's fine. It's a great land, though. I mean, Spider-Man's a great ride. All those things are fun. The Hulk is a great coaster. But just like Sony allowed Spider-Man to be shared in the movie universe, I kind of wish that they would do something where they say, okay, you know what? We could do more with Marvel. We could say, we're going to keep Marvel Superhero Island at Universal, and we're going to keep it with the 90s comics and let them do the movie stuff at Disney World. But I don't think that's ever going to happen, sadly.
Yeah.
I will say this
think it will
though,
happen.
I could be wrong about this, but I'm looking at this and the Imagineering of that building. Personally, I'm seeing a lot of what looks to be shape language. I don't know. Could be wrong.
What we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture.
But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Reverie Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Oh, we love Sachi, but
I need you to send me that video.
yeah, I will. I will.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate that I mean that was the thing they showcased in that bar. So, but Ron, final thoughts before we go on to our next topic.
Oh, look, I am looking forward to this. I haven't had the opportunity to visit Avengers Campus. I am currently right now rewatching the Infinity Saga stuff, doing it like in the MCU actual timeline way. I'm very upset about one thing on Disney Plus that they have not incorporated. This bothered me a lot, actually. Almost everything, like Eyes of Wakanda, is listed as the first thing in the timeline on Disney Plus. They have all the Netflix series listed in the timeline. They don't have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. listed in the timeline. And I don't care that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might have separated off. When Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started, it was about being all connected. But that period of Marvel, I haven't loved everything that Marvel's done since 2021, but I love I love Iron Man, and I love the initial Avengers. To me, the first Avengers film is so rewatchable to me, and so all of this stuff that they're doing, like if I could go to Avengers Campus and kind of feel in a way like I'm in an Avengers movie, that's really what I want. I don't get that so much out of Galaxy's Edge. I don't really feel so much like I'm in a Star Wars movie because it's not a location from the movie. And I get Avengers Campus technically isn't, but there was the Avengers Campus in New York. That was like their thing. So it's kind of the best that they could do in a park with that. And that, it makes sense. I really want to see it. I haven't had a chance to get out to California. And for me, that's, a big deal. And anywhere that they have Avengers stuff in any of the parks, I'll be honest, I'm going to want to go. So I'm really, and what I personally, Drew, did you ever ride Some of All Thrills at Epcot?
I did not.
Okay,
so
I
did. It was great.
That was one of my favorite things to do when it first came on board. I mean, like every time I went to Epcot, kind of darted to Some of All Thrills first. It was early on robotic technology of that arm and being able to make your own coaster track and that kind of thing. So, and it looked a lot like this. That's probably why Erika said it. Like this particular, that's exactly what Some of All Thrills looked like on its own. And it was just that, right? It was just the arm. If they're incorporating that and expanding on the technology, I think this could be an absolute blast of a ride. All I have to say is, Disney, please make it work so there's not a lot of downtime, so that there's good ride capacity and we get everybody through. I think it could be really, really good. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed.
It has the potential for sure. Drew, any response to any of that?
Yeah, just like, I guess the only thing that I want to be clear with is that these are separate rides. So like,
right,
Stark Flight Lab, just with the that's the entire ride. It's literally just you're here to have fun, to be flung around for a couple minutes, and that's it. Whereas Infinity Defense is more like the groundbreaking $100 million, multi-$100 million ride. But I do like that they're taking one big building and adding a fourth ride just because they can. And I know people are going to be like, well, it's just a Kuka arm, that's it. But like, we never were expecting a fourth ride here. So if it's something that you can just hop in line for 25 minutes and ride to have fun and laugh a little bit, like, I don't see a problem with that. Yeah, like it doesn't have.
Are fun.
Exactly. Not everything has to be that fancy Rise or Infinity Defense, in my opinion. Just being flung around like this and just being silly and enjoying life isn't a bad thing. So it's like, sure, bring it on. Why not?
Oh,
It's a
and
good
I
point.
want to
I
add
mean,
real quick
please,
to,
Erika, please.
what I think Ron was saying. I think it was Ron with how some people didn't like Guardians because it didn't fit with the theme of Epcot. I will say, once you get on an attraction, if it's that good of an attraction, all of that stuff just immediately dissipates because
you'll justify it in
ride
your
was
mind.
so much fun. And for me, it was
Right.
like that. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, I wish they had done something different. Then I went on the ride. And now I am just like, I could go on it over and over and over again because it's such a great ride.
Right. It's very, very true. If the ride is strong enough, it will overcome theme. I do think theme is important, and these things should be incorporated as much as I think we expect from Disney. At the same time, sometimes you're going to have to take swings that might not work in the initial process, but maybe they can be incorporated better later on. In this way, Avengers Campus, feels a little bit tacked on. I think this will round it out and feel really proper, which Avengers Campus has never really benefited from. Bring back the shows while you're at it and do all that kind of stuff. I think it's great that we're getting more attractions at DCA, a park that desperately needs it. Gonna have something groundbreaking. Very, very cool. Hey, Racers, when it goes down, you'll at least have another attraction to enjoy. Maybe, possibly on that same level. Very, very cool right there. We've got to get to our next story because we only have a limited time with Drew today right there. We want to be respectful of his time for sure. Let's go ahead and talk about some cast members. Now, we did cover this on a previous Vash Sky ParkCast, as people will know, but we didn't have quite the depth and granularity provided by this amazing Mickey Visit article. And also, too, Drew was there. He heard the down low that Mickey Visit was privy to right here.
Yep.
Disney making sweeping cast member changes to restore the guest experience. This by Gavin Doyle over there. March 3rd, 2026, here at Mickey Visit. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit right here. Disneyland Resort President Thomas Moslem and some of his leadership team met with about a dozen members of the media, including Mickey Visit, to share more on his current focus for improvement at the resort. We have already covered some of what he shared around plans for attracting young families, changes to park hopping and reservations, delay of a ride closure, and aims for changes to security improvements. Interesting. I didn't hear about that part of it. Maybe I'll pick your brain on that, Drew. Muslim shared with us that they are analyzing every aspect of the guest experience to simplify the visit process. And he also spoke to his plans to bring hospitality back into every interaction at the resort. He believes that starts with cast members. Well, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down even more here. The 2020 closure of the Disneyland Resort theme parks had a real impact on the operations of the park in the following 5 years. The parks were closed to guests for 412 days. And during that period, cast members were furloughed. Many chose to retire or not return to the parks. The over a year-long interruption meant that the parks would need to staff up with new talent. We heard from Brunei Diharo, I believe, Director of Operations and Integration at Disneyland, who manages guest feedback and cast member training. She brought detailed information about the current state of the cast member experience at the resort and their plans to improve hospitality for guests. The following information is from her presentation. While direct quotes weren't allowed, I'm able to paraphrase this information. So I guess Diharo, when talking about this, I guess she grimaced when talking about the reopening portion of getting the parks open for what was it? Was it April 30th, if I'm not mistaken, right there?
April 21. Yep.
Yeah. It was all that time ago, and they had to get basically almost a skeleton crew at first because only 50% of people actually came back initially. Now, obviously, that's dwindled to about 40% pre-COVID right there. So 60% of the current ranks at Disneyland Resort are made up of people who were brand new to this. And they had to shorten the onboarding process in order to staff up in order to get these parks fully operational right there. Drew, I want to go ahead and throw it to you right here. What was this presentation all about? Do you what details were you privy to that maybe others weren't? All your thoughts and more, please go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that Disneyland's leaders talked to us for 2.5 hours just about where they're at with their business, what they want to do in the future. I never take handwritten notes, but I wrote 4 pages of handwritten notes from Thomas, Brunei, just all this stuff about the future of Disneyland because I wanted to be able to remember it, and also just the fact that I feel there's a lot of power in these angles for years to come. Like Disneyland is kind of early on in its transformation. You know, we're talking about Disneyland Forward and Pandora and Coco and Avengers, but like we're kind of at like stage 0.5 right now before we ever get to like this end game where Disneyland Forward comes around and maybe the addition of a third theme park, like all these crazy long-term plans. But basically what Disney is doing right now to try to regain trust with their guests, make the guest experience better, and also so that when they're at the parks, the cast members know how to interact with the guests in the best way. I think the biggest thing that I took away is that 60% of cast members at Disneyland right now, and they have 36,000 cast members, were hired after the pandemic. And like you said, Vash, that some of them have never worked in a hospitality environment, let alone Disneyland. Like that is the top of the line. Like people are expecting world-class service. So how do you kind of figure that out? And Bernai also mentioned that like when they were coming back from the pandemic that they were training them very quickly on Zoom because you couldn't do it in person. So you're hiring people that are expected to deliver a good experience, but they're kind of not getting that. So they've kind of gone back to the drawing board, and they were very upfront, which I appreciated, that cast member behavior right now is a thing that they're looking to improve because they're getting a lot of feedback that people aren't happy with how cast members are behaving. So Disney is like, well, if our guests aren't happy with this, well, we need to start over, and that's on us, you know, not the guests by any means. Let's take that feedback. They said that they're reading every single letter coming into Disneyland and then taking that feedback internally. So if you write a letter to Disneyland's leadership team, they said, we will read it. The exact quote they used was like, we're obsessing over guest feedback. And another thing too that I think is really good is that, like I mentioned earlier, they're working on the increased attraction reliability. That's actually why we've seen some shortened park hours at Disneyland. People are like, oh, they're just cutting the budget of the park, but they actually need longer overnight maintenance to get these attractions operating better. They basically said that if Disneyland is closing at midnight, well, that's 1 hour less every single night to work on these attractions. And if they're not getting the proper overnight maintenance, well, then your experience during the day is going to be impacted by that because you're not going on as many rides. I think the exact thing that they listed was that the number one point of feedback they get from someone visiting Disneyland is how many attractions they experienced in their day, which yes, that's not a shock by any means, but actually hearing that and that people want to get the rides, well, then they said, well, what can we do to improve that? Well, yes, we might have to shorten the park hours from midnight to 11 p.m., but that extra hour is going to allow us to make your day better when you're here. So it's kind of like that balance of how do we give everyone a good experience? Well, we know that some things people might not love, but again, those are just the things you're going to have to do. Like Rise of the Resistance is a recent refurbishment at Disneyland. They didn't just take it down to take it down. The entire point that they told us behind that refurbishment is to make the ride more reliable. And just in this last fiscal year, this was the thing that the entire room was kind of like, whoa, is that in this last fiscal year 2025, which ended in October, 1.5 million more rides were allowed because of these improved uptimes. So 1.5 million people who visited Disneyland got to go on more attractions because of that. So for me, it's just like, yeah, it's awesome to look at the long-term things like Coco and Pandora and Avatar, and the new attractions always get the attention. But I think it's just as important now in the short term to have cast members delivering on the experience the guests are expecting. And when you're not interacting with the cast member, actually being able to go on the rides that you're paying for, to me, that was awesome, and just how direct they were. So we'll have to see if they deliver on that promise, but they did back it up with those facts, like the 1.5 million riders. I think they said like 30,000 more people got on the Disneyland Railroad because they added that water tower over in New Orleans. Yeah, that got 30,000 more people on the railroad. I think the fact that Small World and Haunted Mansion came up quicker with their holiday overlays, 200,000 of those 1.5 million was because of just a week of extended operational time. So I think that they're off on a good start, but I think this is a very long-term thing that they're just kind of a year into at this point. And I think that was a priority from Thomas Maslam. He's only been in Disneyland for a year, so we'll see even more hopefully going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure that I understand. I just want to make sure I understand the figure. Okay, so what you're saying is, let's just say that like in 2024 fiscal, just for example, there were 100. Let's say there were 100 million rides, or let's make it easier, 10 million, and so then the next year there were then 11.5 million or whatever. Like okay, so that many more rides took place that year. I'm just trying to make sure, because when I was reading the article, and I was trying to figure out the wording of it. I'm like, what exactly does that
It's a lot of
mean?
information. Like
So,
walking out of that presentation, my brain was fried, but in a good way, because I had no idea what to expect. They just called it a business update, and I'm like, I knew that we were going to be hearing from Thomas Maslam, but I'm like, is this like future details that we can't talk about? But no, they were like, we're giving you guys this stuff, and you can talk about it however you want to. Just add your own analysis to it. You know, it's not like they invited us out there just to say this is only for you. You know, like I can share this. And again, like these notes that I've taken, this is years worth of information for me. But by the time Coco opens, I think that this initiative is going to be into its next stages to where maybe by the time Coco opens, it's already reliable by the time it opens, because they're working with Imagineering behind the scenes to make it more reliable on day one rather than getting it up to standard a year after, you know. Though I do think with something like Infinity Defense, where it's crucial. It's crucial. Though I do think something like Infinity Defense, where again you're calling it a prototype, I hope that their transparency with the communication continues to the general guest, so that they understand if you're just flying out for Infinity Defense, well, this is a big technological attempt for us, so it might take some time to get it running at full steam. You might be experiencing those issues. That's something that I hope they do as part of this, is just more communication.
Ministry of Magic.
Well, Epic Universe as a whole, unfortunately, it's been a nightmare. If I said that, I would get attacked, you know, because I'm
no. Yeah, we have had people. Marty Coasters was on Vash Sky ParkCast very, very recently, and he was even saying like when it came to operational issues, that 1.5 million figure that you broke out right there, the conversations surrounding trying to increase uptime, those are conversations that are happening every single day at Epic Universe to try to get more throughput, and that's why the executives are saying, hey, we haven't meet that max capacity threshold because of the problems experienced with those custom, once boutique ride systems, right? To give more to that number right there, say you have Pirates of the Caribbean, which roughly does about 2,000 people per hour at Disneyland Resort, and if that full operating day is provided for that attraction, right? Let's say 16 hours, that's 32,000 people that can be serviced by Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, what Drew is saying, look, with increased uptime, you add in, 2,000 here, 1,500 here, 1,000 here, that's where you get that 1.5 million figure. And that's especially impressive, considering that we did have a reduction in hours over there at the fall of 2025. So that's extremely impressive, very, very cool to see, that they're putting the emphasis on uptime for these attractions. I would say I'd like them to hire maybe a little bit more in order so that we don't have to lose hours, but I get it, right? You have to prioritize with what you got. And that's why I was encouraged by Thomas Maslam being transferred to the Disneyland Resort, because he comes from Signature Experiences. He comes from Disney Cruise Line, right? Mm-hmm. Where the emphasis on guest experience and customer service or cast members. Cast members are, they're top notch. Everybody who's been on Disney Cruise says, hey, look, I've been to this park, I've been to this park, I've been to this park. If you want that white glove treatment, you've got to go to Disney Cruise Line. I was hoping that he would infuse a little bit of that to the Disneyland Resort. It sounds like he is.
He's working on it.
Was that your take on it, Drew?
Yeah, for sure. And something that I kept picking up on too is that, like, when we were hearing from people on his team like Brianna, they consistently kept referring back to Thomas as his priorities. So their team is then tasked with making that a reality. But to your point, Vash, it seems like Thomas Maslam is really the one who came in here, and now that he's kind of getting settled into his role as the leader of Disneyland, is like, well, what do I need to do to make this place successful? Well, this, and this. Now I need you to make this a reality, because he can't do it himself. He doesn't have that expertise. And another, I guess I'll kind of wrap up with these thoughts on the whole attraction thing, but something I thought was fascinating is that 13% of attraction downtimes at Disneyland are caused by guests. So 13 out of 100 times a ride's down, that's because a guest did something stupid. That's why you've seen signs of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway saying no phones, or all, like on Incredicoaster, they're trying to be more
Code V.
They're trying to get people to behave, which is sad. But and then just like
so forth, right? Foreign objects.
Yep. I mentioned Rise of the Resistance being more reliable because of its recent downside. Something else I thought was fascinating too is that they mentioned that with it's funny, Radiator Springs Racers is on screen, but when it recently went down, how they kind of worked on a new parts management program is how they described it, because some of the original parts that were with Radiator Springs Racers, like those companies don't exist anymore. So they're now figuring out new ways to optimize getting these things delivered on time, so then they can get the ride open as quickly as possible. So like Disneyland is literally like a 25/8 operation for the amount of work going into this stuff. And even I, as someone who follows this stuff so closely, had my eyes open to what they're doing like overnight, from emergency things like we need this open by 8 a.m. to things that happen, throughout weeks and you would never know. Like another example they used were like the wheels on the Matterhorn. Like if they can pick up on the fact that a wheel is going out in Matterhorn's load station before it goes out, then they can replace it before it goes out so that ride never goes down because of that wheel. And like those little things really do matter. So yeah, they were also upfront with the fact that like Disneyland hasn't recovered from its hiring. Like I mentioned, 60% are from the pandemic. They still haven't fully recovered that talent yet, and that might take years until they get to that point. But in the meantime, it seems like they truly are trying to pull every string to get things going to where they need to be. And again, rides are still going to go down, guests are still going to cause issues, cast members aren't going to be perfect. But if you at least are making the effort in starting somewhere and then improving it in years ahead, personally, I think that's a good start.
It seems like a culture of rejuvenation. I mean, honestly, it truly does seem like that. The emphasis on like traditions, for example, extending that out and getting leads reorientated, maybe even getting some of those greener cast members or some of those cast members who maybe don't have the best feedback attached to them, getting them retrained and shoring some of that stuff up. Look, you're going to be limited in what you're going to be able to do here because, well, you got unions, you got budgets, you got all kinds of stuff that you have to consider when it comes to 36,000 people, right? But can we make those little improvements across the way in this kind of holistic effort in order to shore up everything? Look, True, I've been on on shows like Vash Sky ParkCast, but definitely TPP, T3PO, and so forth. I mean, I remember relaying my experiences from cast member interactions at Disneyland Resort and how horrendous that they were, at least in the modern era, right? Just terrible stuff. And it's like, can we get this kind of cultural rejuvenation program in which you have maybe, I don't know, like teams that kind of go around and shore up some cast members and reinitialize that culture that we so long cultivated for years and years at Disneyland Resort and was just completely cut in half by the pandemic. Please go ahead, Ron.
Okay. Well, I mean, I came back as a cast member during that time, right? So 2021, when I came back, and this was kind of funny. Technically speaking, I was laid off for about 5 weeks because the layoff didn't take place until the 31st of December 2020, and I was brought back on February 2021 temporarily as a lifeguard, and then I went back to my old role. But what I did find out when I came back is there wasn't initially traditions. That didn't start back up. And now I don't know how things worked at Disneyland. I can only speak for Disney World, but when they were bringing new people on, they went through an incredibly abbreviated version of traditions, like literally 2-3 hours. But most of the new training at that time was all about masks, vaccines, everything that had to do with the coof that was happening. We literally spent, I'm not kidding you, 2 days of training specifically about that, how to deal with guests, how to deal with it. And I'm like, okay, but what is this? Where is the training for the job? Right. I mean, and of course I was a lifeguard and I had that training that I went through as well, but it was just really, really like, I kept thinking maybe 2021, 2022, we'll get into it, whatever. And I kept dealing with new cast members. Of finally they eventually brought back the college program cast members and stuff. But it was my understanding is something I've heard recently is they are now going to re-emphasize traditions. I'm just hearing this very, very recently that they're going to go back to what traditions once was and maybe even extend it, have kind of a 2-day version of it. I'm hearing
that's exactly what we were told. So
they're really going to focus on getting all the, what we used to know as cast members, like back in my day, 2015, like you could have seen me walking through the parks on a day off and automatically, without ever thinking about it, picking up trash. And that's just because how we were trained. And I think it was a great thing. And I want to see that again, because there's that like diaspora between new cast members and old cast members, and you see it when you go to the parks. And what you want to see is all the cast members kind of coming together to have the same like kind of belief system while they're at work.
Now,
And that's what really creates the magic.
Exactly, and I think Drew, Ron's experience was the experience, you know, essentially admitted to by Brunei in this whole thing. Like, they shortened traditions, they added a lot of virtual traditions, right, where it's just Zoom calls, and maybe that information is not accepted. Was that what was really to you?
Yeah, they had realized that it just wasn't. You can't have a Disneyland cast member without the traditions. And Brunei actually spoke to traditions being a crucial part of what kind of got her up on the right foot, and now she's in a leadership role at Disneyland. So yeah, it's the fact that they're like aware of how important traditions are, and something, Vash, that you said that kind of brought up another, as you guys are saying things, I'm remembering what was said in the meeting, but kind of how like if Disneyland's leaders are all staying there, well, the people that are underneath them are gonna be delivering a better guest experience rather than all this back and forth and people leaving and new leaders coming in. That just doesn't set up a good, experience for the cast members. Like, if you're going to a different leader every few months, like the turnover, you can't expect that to happen. But thankfully, it doesn't seem like Disneyland is having a lot of turnover. They said 15% turnover. So all of the leadership positions are staying, which then allows them to build those relationships with the cast that they're overseeing. And then as a result, hopefully it will translate to the guest. So again, I know I keep repeating myself, but it seems like they value what we need as guests. Just a matter of, does the general family visiting the parks pick up on these changes and not just the diehard fans too? I think that if everyone understands what's going on here, then you have a massive success, and you can continue to improve it as time goes on.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. It's really gonna come down to what the guests experience. And look, I mean, if they're reading every single letter, there's some dedication right there. Maybe it's AI. No. But if they're reading every letter, that's cool. No. That's genuinely good stuff, and that's why I kind of wanted to bring you on and bring this out, because they are genuinely doing some good stuff. At least at Disneyland. I don't know how it's going.
That's specifically Disneyland's team, so I give credit to them for, again, if Thomas Maslam's making a priority and then they're executing that priority, that's leadership. That's everything starts at the top, trickles its way down. We get the benefits of them doing that. So good stuff, and I hope it continues, and I hope that we even get more insight like this in the future. I hope that this becomes an annual thing where we kind of get updates on. Last year we told you about what we were planning to do. This is how we've executed it. If I can actually see that action being taken through examples of numbers like those numbers that they gave us, like they're backing it up so far with numbers. So I expect that to continue. I want that to happen.
I do agree with that. It would be fostering a relationship, not just with the media, but through them, the fans. A lot of fans, it's like, hey, just tell us, just be transparent. Just, you know what? It's okay to admit you're wrong. It's okay to come out with, hey, we're doing something about this. That's not necessarily an admission of failure. Before you leave, Drew, I'm going to go ahead and get Erika in one last time. Erika, Drew, the Disney dude, has to unfortunately depart right there, but I wanted to go ahead and involve you into the conversation just one last time. If you had any back and forth that you wanted to conduct with Drew right now, right before he leaves, the floor is yours, Erika.
I really don't have any. I was enjoying everything you brought to the table and just listening.
Oh, good.
I really don't have much to add. It's just, I'm a little jealous. Wish I were there with you. It's
totally fair, and it's funny because like Thomas Maslam, after that presentation, we were just having lunch, and he was kind of like taking it from us, like, what are your audiences seeing? What do you guys want to share with us before you guys leave this group? And something that they said, like, if you guys have any ideas on how we connect more with our fans, let me know. And something I'm thinking of emailing them and the team about is, like, if you guys want to connect more with your fans, I think what Thomas needs to do are video updates on the Disney Parks YouTube channel, to where he is speaking directly to the Disney Parks fans, and anyone can watch it. So then someone like myself, I could say, go over to the Disney Parks YouTube channel and watch this video. And that's just Thomas talking to everyone in a very popular platform, rather than kind of on background where we're kind of sharing it on their behalf. But also to give Disney a little bit of, leeway here. This was the first time they've ever done anything like this. So I think that in the future, there is potential here to kind of connect with the guests and just the general Disney fans more, rather than just like a private media meeting. But yeah, I'm just grateful I can at least share those details. But in the future, I hope it's much more, public, just doing it on social media, getting it out there.
So it sounds like to me they're aware of the overall general complaints, not
Yes.
from all facets of the parks, not just one area, like from not just cast member, like customer service wise, but even down to
Friction
cleanliness
Correct.
of parks.
Yes. Yes.
Basically, what we're getting for the money, because it's what, over $200 to get in
Yeah.
now.
It's
Some
a
days.
lot of money.
Value.
Yeah.
So, and they're aware of how we would like things to go semi back to pre-pandemic, like just so that the money, so it feels like my money is going further in the resorts if I'm staying on property. That's my biggest hang up with the whole thing since the pandemic is how they have severely curtailed the park hours and the resort perks,
I
because
agree with
that was the biggest selling point for our family to go to Disney. Was you get the 3 full magic hours for all guest resorts, not just the deluxe ones, and then this thing of monetizing on the 3 hours with the after events. It's just a constant nickel and diming. It's not just nickel and diming. It's expensive. When you're paying $6, $7 for just an ice cream bar, I mean, but you want to target your middle class, because there's more of them than there are of the elite, people making more than $200,000 to $400,000 a year. So they're aware of all those things, not just the surface stuff of, maintenance. Oh yeah, it's customer service. That's my biggest thing, is them being aware of the meat. To me, that's the meat and potatoes, because that's my hard-earned money. And what is my return in terms of giving my money to your brand? What are you giving me back?
Yeah, no, I guess I wish we went into that a little bit more, but what I will say is that the first thing that Thomas actually started with that meeting, when he just sat down and we were kind of like, what's he about to say, was he kind of said something along the lines of, I understand that it costs more money to do everything in this world, including a Disney vacation. So I don't necessarily think Disney's going to decrease prices, because they can still get away with charging what they're charging and people are coming to the parks. That's just the reality of the situation. I do hear you though, Erika. I fully agree with you. The entire world is too expensive now, and I feel like these things just aren't addressed. But it seems like they're again, this is just me taking my takeaway here, but it seems like we understand it costs more to be here. We want you to have a good experience, and while we're not going to lower prices, we're going to at least aim to give you a better experience while you're spending time here, whether that's going on more rides, having better interactions with the cast members, but yeah, I do agree with you. And part of me even thinks, like, is the real reason they got rid of like the early park hours is because they need more maintenance time, is that, but again, if like people who are losing that perk don't know that, then I go back and forth on these things all the time. It's like, that's why I just hope that in the future that these things are communicated more transparently, because there's so much great information here, but what percentage of Disney fans are actually going to see this information? There was only 14 of us in that room. Like, we can only cover so much before the next thing comes in, so
us Skyliners are getting a really in-depth education right now. That's absolutely for sure. There's no question about that.
Cool.
Yes,
ask
I
away.
have something real quick. Now, first of all, people should know this about Drew, because Drew and I have spent time together in the parks, and it's great. The thing that I love about Drew is his absolute enthusiasm for what Disney's trying to bring us. That Imagineering. We're Drew's a lot younger than I am. And I'm the youngest person on the media side of things. Like, when I was in that room, I'm like, looking around, I'm like, I'm just 23 years old, and everyone's been doing this for like 15 years. I was even a little taken back. I love that enthusiasm that you bring. That's like, and it's infectious. If you're ever around Drew, you'll feel it. It's really, really cool. He's a great guy.
Thank you. It is awesome.
So I want to say that about Drew. But here's my question for you, because I do know that of the things that are happening at Walt Disney World, specifically Disney World, because we're on the
that's
East
our
Coast.
home.
What are you most excited about? I'll just to share my feelings. I'm actually most excited about Tropical Americas, because there's I have family. My beautiful wife, she's from Venezuela, so I'm excited about, and it's something that I have been saying for years needs to come to Animal Kingdom, is South America, Central America representation. What are you most excited about that's coming?
Yeah, would it shock you if I said Tropical Americas is my number one most anticipated project
Oh,
for
there you
anything right now? Not
would
just
not.
Walt Disney World. I would go as far as saying that Tropical Americas is my number one for everything in development right now, like all 14 new rides. Everyone's talking about like these Villains Land rumors, and I'm like, why aren't y'all talking about we're getting Encanto, Indiana Jones, an Original Village? Like this is perfect in my opinion. So
It's true.
yeah,
It's true.
if I could, I think that people are going to pick up on this with my content. And for all of you watching, if you want to follow me, be my guest, because for the next 2 years until Tropical Americas opens, I think that my goal is to be the leading source for that land. So by the time it opens, that people are like, oh, this is actually a good thing. I feel like something too that I'll give a shout out here to Mike at blogmickey.com. I love following Mike's coverage, and he just went to the Maya at the Mouse conference here at Walt Disney World, and the Tropical Americas project team was in attendance with like actual like Maya architects and historians, and Joe Rohde was there. And Mike, who's someone that I trust personally with his coverage, is that he said that from his takeaways being at the Maya at the Mouse conference was that the Tropical Americas project team is putting in like a ridiculous amounts of effort to get this right. And that's just a reimagining of Dinosaur. And then on the other hand, I can't share too much here. I wish I could, but I know for a fact that Encanto is going to be like a return to form style dark ride, but with the modern technology that Disney has in their arsenal now. So just Tropical Americas as a whole is my number one, but I'd put Encanto over anything because I feel like people have kind of been asking for something that feels classic Disney, like Fantasyland, and that's what I feel is brewing with Encanto, but no one's talking about it. So I have two long-form YouTube videos that I'm working on, one about Encanto on its own, the other about Tropical America as a whole. I'm hoping that we're going to get something about Tropical Americas on the shareholders meeting, because I feel like every year on the shareholders meeting we get some Disney parks drop. I'm just hoping that they sneak something in there. But we'll
that would
see.
be cool. I'm not quite sure. It would be cool though. I do.
It would be
agree
fun.
with you.
Yeah,
MJ,
I can't rely on it, but we'll see.
Indeed. MJ, really quickly, your question for Drew. I've been trying to get you in here for a little while here.
You're good.
But
No,
we got
cool.
people very excited.
It's all good. I love being back here. You know, I'm doing my thing, making sure everything's going smooth. It's been a great show, Drew. It's been amazing hearing everything that you have to say. I've just been absorbing it all like a sponge. But I can honestly say from a perspective, you know what's wild? You're the same age as my daughter. I have a daughter. She's 23 over at UCF. So God bless you. You could be my son. As a mom with kids and we have a big family. And when we go to we visit the Walt Disney World Resort more frequently than the other Disney resorts around the globe. And I want to say I can't wait for them to continue I didn't even know, I lost my words. I just want them to streamline everything back to where it was, where cast members were excited about their jobs. We had a guest appearance the other day. I can't remember the name of the individual, but she was spot on with something. You know, if you don't have that spark, that passion, that love for Disney and what Disney stands for, and really be honestly passionate about what Walt's vision, because this is his land, this is his world that we're walking into, then why even bother? Just go work at a Walmart or a Subway or something. When we walk in here into this happy place, we're supposed to leave everything behind, because let's face it, we're all dealing with different things, right? Whether you have a strife or, you know, family issues or a disability, you want to walk in and you want to feel loved and cared for, and really like that attention. We need that back in the parks. I want my children to feel that magic that I felt when I was a little girl, 5 years old, walking into Walt Disney World. They need to bring that back. And the fact that they're streamlining things gives me hope. And I am an optimistic person. I always try to find the positive and the good in everything. And I feel your energy and I love it. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the information that you shared today on the podcast. It's been an honor being here with you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, and I don't view myself as someone special by any means. I'm just, like I said, I'm a 23-year-old kid who just loves Disney. You know, like 10, 11 years ago, I was sitting outside of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in New Fantasyland, losing my mind over the ride vehicles testing. And here I am to this day that
I remember that video.
I love that Mine Train ride. It's one of my favorites.
I already know for a fact that whenever they start, as much as I love Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America, I already know for a fact that when I see those vehicles testing in cars from Tiana's Bayou Adventure in a couple years, that I'm gonna be like, oh, there's ride testing. So I just love this stuff. And I don't know, people can say what they want to say about Disney and have their own opinions, and I will always respect that. I'm never gonna speak for anyone else. I only speak for myself and my perspective. And just, I guess also part of the fact of being like local to Walt Disney World is I don't have to jump through a lot of those hoops that people have to when they're flying in. So I try to also, understand that I'm very blessed to be so close to the parks and just being able to pop in and not worry about lightning lanes or transportation or hotels or airfare and all that stuff. So yeah, I just like covering the Imagineering side of things most of the time, because reality is the Imagineers working on these new things. Like, they don't choose that Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America are being demolished. Like, they just are coming in now and trying to deliver on that stuff. So I try to separate from like the operational side into just what the Imagineers are tasked to do. And that's why I think I'm so optimistic, is because again, the Imagineers don't necessarily have a say in ticket pricing or closures. It's like, you're on this project, this is your task, figure it out. And they work for years to deliver just one of these attractions for us. So again, I respect everyone's opinions, but again, I'm a very optimistic person. So if you do choose to follow me, just know that I'm self-aware of how positive I am. But at the same time, there are things that I don't like, and I will say that when I don't like it. So I'm more positive than negative. But I'd rather be upfront and self-aware of that than people are like, well, why is he saying this? It's because most of the time, and reality is, whenever Disney makes a change, I'm okay with it. But again, I'm local, so I don't have to worry about those changes most of the time.
It's an important distinction too. Management, Imagineering, very two different things, and they have different goals. And obviously, Imagineering is put in a project a lot of times at the behest of management who wants a certain outcome right there. So very, very cool. Definitely be sure to check out Drew the Disney Dude right there on YouTube. We have taken up way too much of his time right there. He's supposed to be out 15 minutes ago, and I was trying to really cut into that, but hopefully you enjoyed your time right there.
I did.
And definitely follow Drew the Disney Dude on X as well. Awesome stuff. Substack. He's everywhere. Anything else that you want to showcase here?
Yeah, not just even Twitter and Substack, but like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. I've literally, my main goal in 2026 is to have a strong presence on every platform. So if you're not a fan of Twitter, well, you can follow me on Instagram. If you're not a fan of Instagram, you can follow me on Twitter or YouTube or Substack. I'm trying to do everything to where you can at least find my stuff at some place.
Drew, I'll probably be following you around the park. So
I mean, that was in 2024, man. I'd be documenting Tiana's and I'd turn around and Ron's right behind me. So
we were there.
That's it. We get your links in the description. They will be in the description of this video right here. They are certainly in the chat though. So if you're watching the replay, or if you're in the chat right now, please go ahead and use those links to get to Drew's various accounts right there. Thank you so much, seriously, for being on this.
Before I go, speaking of Thomas Maslam, look who's on the Disney Adventure cruise ship right now. There he is.
Oh,
we got all the leaders.
How interesting that is actually going on right now.
Freaking Singapore, darn it!
I know everyone's in Singapore right now. But I don't know. I don't even have a passport, so I could not be in Singapore right now.
I'll stay in the States at least for right now.
It's so funny because we've been planning a cruise, and honestly, for the majority of the destinations that they have to offer, you don't need a passport, Drew. So you just get on with your birth certificate and your driver's license, and you're good to go. I'm learning so much.
I did that in Galveston recently with Marvel at Sea on the Disney Magic, which I did not know. But yeah, I think I definitely would need a passport for Singapore.
Oh, Singapore, yes. Get over there to get on the ship. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I'll watch everyone else's coverage in the meantime.
Yeah.
I think Scott's got some stuff, and River's got some stuff, so maybe we'll go over it as well. But Drew, you've been killing it. No matter where you are. So thank you so much. Very much appreciate you. And hey, enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, sky's the limit, sir.
All right. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Very much appreciate that. Awesome stuff. God, Drew the Disney Dude, super, super cool right there. Hey, look, he had some opinions that maybe not everybody out there is going to agree with, but you got to give it up to him. He really does hustle. He really does. Work hard to deliver you guys the best, information and really getting out there with Imagineering and management. Awesome stuff. Ron, please go ahead.
Drew's a very positive guy. Like you said, he's an optimist. But I will tell you, he came down hard when they decided to get rid of Rivers of America. He was not about that.
Yeah.
So I think he actually gave that opinion on a local television channel. Like he was invited on local television. He's like, man, I don't like what they're doing with Rivers of America.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, he'll eventually accept it because he's very positive. And some of us will be more like, I just, for me, it's like, that's kind of ruination of the Magic Kingdom, but I'm in a very different mindset because I'm not 23 years old. I'm 50. I'm 30 something years older than the guy. And so for those of us who have had like this whole long lifetime experience with the Magic Kingdom, with Walt, it's just a different perspective. And sometimes you have to say, hey, look, it's okay to have difference of opinions. I think the biggest trouble that we have in the world today is that people that with different opinions can't live and let live. Like, I get the divisiveness. I get that, like, we have difference of opinions, but it's okay, guys. It does not everything has to be about butting heads and it's my way or the highway. It can be about, okay, I'll respect that, and we'll go forward.
Yeah, you just have to unfortunately keep moving forward because, like, I try to tell my older daughters, and yes, wild man, I have a 23-year-old, and I'll reveal my age one of these days to you guys. But anyway, we have to keep moving forward. If we continue to just drag the baggage from the past with us about, like, what I mean is, like, so when I see the Rivers of America, the way that they have what they have done, I start crying. You guys already know I go off camera because I get very teary-eyed. It's a very sensitive subject for me. Why? Because I took pictures there as a little girl with my mom. It's a staple in my childhood. Rivers of America will always live in my heart and in my photo albums. But we have to move forward, and we have to try to see the goodness and the light at the end of the tunnel. It's really, really difficult with the regime that we have been given these past few decades, but
Very true.
we just need to try to be as optimistic as possible because this is all a place where we all enjoy going. We all have memories here, whether it's with our grandparents or our parents. So we just have to, we can't stay, we can't live in the past all the time. I try to tell myself, you can't live in the past. You have to move forward and just be as optimistic as possible. You don't have to be jittery and be like, oh, I'm so glad it's gone. No, that's not what I'm saying. We just have to, like, try to embrace the change in your own way, however you seem, to be able to do that. It's harder for some to process that.
And the other thing too is when Disney actually does something good, it's important to acknowledge that, right? So that's why I brought up the cast member story, because, like, that's a genuinely good thing right there. That's a genuinely there's a concerted effort to turn things around. Hey, maybe it's not going to be successful, but they admitted the faults, they admitted the problems, they went out there and said, hey, we didn't get this one right. Now they're doing something about it. Let's see where it goes.
I hope they don't take any complaints given by guests with any particular cast members. Take it seriously. And if you need to trim the cast member base and let people go, then do it and rehire and hire better people. I hope that they're, because once upon a time when you were a cast member, that was like a badge of honor, and that was it was like a privilege. And if you did not go to work, if you went to work and you were not playing your part, I mean, they didn't hesitate to let you go. And there was a sense of, like, you knew you had to be on your P's and Q's. You were playing that role. And they've kind of gotten away from that. So I'm hoping that there is going to be a turnaround. And I hope that, they're being serious. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I am Hispanic. I'm also older, he's Christian's age. Christian's 20. He'll be 23 this year. So I'm sitting here like,
Why do we all have 23-year-olds? All of us have 23. That's weird.
Right? Isn't that crazy? That's so
I'm old enough to be your mom too. And,
they didn't care when the Muppets went away. Did Christian care when the Muppets?
No, he could take it or leave it. Because
you see what I'm saying?
And I didn't intentionally put him. I didn't put him in front of Muppets either. When he was growing up, I didn't put him in front of Muppets. It was whatever we could get on television because we were in Japan. And then when we were in Georgia, he got sucked into that Sprouts channel where they had more of the PBS, type stuff. And I think Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that was like pushed on.
Then we
Blue's
came to
Clues and all that.
Germany.
Yeah.
We came to Germany when he was in 3rd grade. So, it's just whatever we could get to put him in front of the TV,
But not I. I mean, I sat and I boohoo cried for a whole week when they got rid of Muppets. I legitimately went into like depression for a week to get over that when they stripped it was like the Muppets raised me. What are you guys doing to Jim Henson's legacy? Like, you guys cannot do this. And then I had to just embrace what was going on. I'm like, okay, this is happening. It's happening.
For me, it's Rivers of America because it was Walt.
Yeah.
Right.
That is Walt. That is Walter Elias Disney history you took out. That's what I have a problem with. You don't have
I'm
to
a little
be
closer to it because of being a Missouri boy. So like, I mean, that's like a piece of Missouri they destroyed there at Tom Sawyer's Island.
Right.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I don't think Drew mentioned it, but
Please.
we were talking a little bit about the value of the parks, how much the prices have gone up. He probably didn't mention that there was a very skinny lawyer in the room who said, well, we could offer a coupon day.
There you go. That's the one. MJ, we're gonna need that clip, by the way. We're gonna need the coupon day
Which
clip
one?
from Jurassic Park.
I was reading
Jurassic Park.
Oh,
from the
no,
first
I
movie.
love Jurassic Park. Oh my God, did you guys see the shoes that they just came out with for Jurassic Park?
I did see those.
Oh, I saw that.
Very
I
interesting.
saw that. Yeah. Jurassic
Now I gotta
Is
find-
this
I
like
gotta find the
new
shoes.
Universal merch?
I don't know what
I
they're
think they
Converse.
partnered
there,
with
but
I think they partnered with Puma or something like. I'll send it to you. Don't worry, I'll put it in the
I
back
could
chat.
see Jurassic
Okay.
Park Converse shoes. Puma, maybe.
it was absolutely wild. I'll have to find it, and MJ, if you find that, we'll go ahead and put it up on screen right there. But look, Erika, I agree with you. Taking out Rivers of America, it's so connected with Walt, and it's so connected to that specific a time period that Walt originally envisioned, something like Rivers of America. It's important to keep some of those things to harken back to Americana. I mean, even Disneyland's.
Well, I would have loved to have met the guy, but generationally, that's just impossible.
Sure.
But whenever I see growing up, whenever I saw clips of him and little documentaries and stuff, my heart would just like. And I wanted to be a part of that. I remember a time in my life where I wanted to be an animator. I really wanted to just throw myself into the Walt Disney Company. And God had other plans, and I'm fine with that. But it's been also, rewarding seeing family get to be a part of that, and hearing their ups and downs. And so when I look at the parks, I look at it as like, this is Walt, and I get that changes are going to happen. I get you're going to get the parks are going to progress, but there's a balance here. The guy's not here anymore. And at some level you've got to preserve what his footprint in these parks and in these IPs. And I feel like they just got away from that.
Part of Disneyland is dedicated to the
and the hard facts.
Creating America, right? That's part of it. So when you take out that connective tissue, not very good. Give me 1 second, Ron. Let me go ahead and put this up on screen. Here we go. I think we got him right there.
I didn't see those.
Shoes.
I saw the ones in the middle. Okay. I didn't realize they were Jurassic Park.
The vehicle wrap is a must for me, and that's
oh gosh.
And I have an SUV now, so I can totally get that vehicle wrap. Like, it's gonna happen. Oh yeah,
SUV with the Jurassic Park.
Heck yeah, I love that. I will.
Very, very cool. Very, very interesting. The tie-ins. They don't stop. But speaking of Rivers of America and what we're losing, what we're getting for it, I don't know if it's going to be that positive, but we already lost it, so we might as well look what the future will give us here. We're back to this. Now, okay, this story has taken yet another turn because we covered the Lentesta stuff, right? That they scrapped the initial plan for Villains Land. We had Walt Disney World News Today come out and say, hey, that's debunked, that's not actually happening. And then there's that big rap article that goes into detail about what exactly they're doing and tries to reassert that yes, this actually did happen. Now we get an updated permit filing, which what I said before, hey, look, if this is actually real, maybe we should get amended permits. We did. Walt Disney World News Today saying that still doesn't substantiate these rumors, but c'est la vie, we're going to go ahead and look at these updated permits because I think they're just absolutely fascinating right here. We did get the enlargement of some of the show buildings that actually are going to be featured in this land. And if people don't already know, here's the kind of layout of what this is looking like according to the plans that they filed previously. This obviously provided by Mickey Views, Sir Braden over there doing an incredible job with his channel. But you can see right there that was the look at what we were going to get before these updated plans, and now we're getting this. So let me go ahead and take you through this right here. You can see this is the previous plan, and now this is the current plan. I know it's kind of hard to see, even if there's any differences at all. There are. Disney Newscast has a little bit of a breakdown showing the plans back and forth here. Okay, so building 1 has increased by about 13%. From 83,000 square feet to 94,000 square feet. Building 2, as part of Villains Land, has increased 18%, 55,000 square feet to 65,000 square feet. Building 3 actually it went down in size considerably. That might be the coaster attraction that they have there. That goes from 16,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet. That's a 25% reduction. Train station, about the same, and Haunted Mansion building about the same as well. Look. Okay. The rumors indicate that the e-ticket attraction as part of this land is going to be a kind of Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean type ride system where you have like a boat and it kind of moves horizontally and sideways and so forth, and it's going to be themed around Maleficent. But that show building is 175,000 square feet. This one, even in its large size, doesn't even actually crest the 100,000 square feet marker. My question to you guys is what do we think we're seeing right here? Are they amending these plans because the rumors are true that they scrapped their initial plans or are going into a different family-friendly oriented direction, or this was always the plan from the outset? Your guys' thoughts?
Well, okay. First of all, building 1 becoming that much bigger, that's very obviously going to be a bar. You
cracked that code, Ron. I didn't think about it, but that's exactly right. No,
I'm kidding, obviously. Look, first of all, I have no idea what the plans are for Villains Land. All I know is that the initial concept art to me looked fairly vague. So there it is. You see the prominence of a crow, which is clearly kind of not going to be there. Probably there's a dragon in the back. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Looking at the people that look like they're standing in water makes me think of like a baptismal service taking.
Yeah, it does. It looks like they're standing in a lagoon.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, but it's hard to figure out from that concept art really what anything is. That just looks like a very general conceptually.
AI art.
It just looks very. Yeah, I don't know.
A little bit.
The only thing I can say is that I hope that we have something more substantial about what's going into Villains Land sooner rather than later, and what we can look forward to. What they showed us, what Drew was showing us earlier from what's going into Avengers Campus. I mean, if they can bring some of that newer technology and put it into what's going to happen at Villains Land, there might be something exciting about that. Look, classic villains is something that people have wanted to see at Walt Disney World for a long time. I don't know if I love the idea of it being shoved into the Magic Kingdom per se. Seems more like a Hollywood Studios type of thing to me, but I know that they're more limited on space, if you will, at Hollywood Studios. there obviously we're not getting that fifth gate that we had hoped that would happen at Walt Disney World. I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, if at all. I don't know, but if we're going to get something, darn it, Disney, make it good. What we've seen of Cars really upsets me, because Cars at Magic Kingdom replacing Rivers of America, I can't wrap my head around that. Like, I can't wrap.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
The only thing for me at Cars, the only thing for me at Cars is that it's replacing Rivers of America so that they can put a lightning lane, so that they can put light lanes in, so they can monetize that part of the park that wasn't monetized before. There's a reason it wasn't monetized. There's a reason that you have that refuge and that balance. And so that bugs me. Villains Land is kind of not really in that same space. So they kind of could have done Villains Land without doing anything to Rivers of America. So I'm a little bit more on board with that, but we need to know what's going to happen there. We need to know fairly soon, so that, gives the audience a time to get on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Look, Erika, we are, like to Ron's point, right? We're losing Rivers of America for Cars. I don't think a lot of people are very excited about that. They're very excited about the prospect of Villains Land, though. I mean, this is a land that people have had in their minds conceived for a long, long time. And the mind does go wild with the amount of different things you can actually do in a villain-based land. We're now learning, according to the rumors brought up by Drew Taylor of The Wrap, suggesting that, okay, we're getting maybe like this Shanghai inspired boat ride for this Maleficent e-ticket attraction. Then we're getting maybe a family coaster like a la Slinky Dog Dash. And then we're getting, I think, an Ursula spinner type attraction. Maybe a fourth one, I'm not sure. But the point is that they're moving into a more family-friendly oriented direction from the previous direction, which was a little bit more scary, a little bit more Dark Universe, right? This time they're going a little bit more like Isle of Berk, which is mentioned in the article specifically. My question to you, Erika, is this worth, first, the destruction of Rivers of America, and is it more tempting now that this is family friendly rather than maybe a Dark Universe inspired land? Your thoughts, please.
Okay, you want optimism? I'll give it to you. I'm doing some research here.
Okay.
The only thing I could think of that in terms of this Villains Land, when you think about it, Disney's already done it through the TV show The Descendants, or not really a TV show, they were movies.
Right.
And this is just me thinking maybe that was the starting point, because you have the fandom that has been asking for a Villains Land for years. That's actually been a thing. You have the Descendants IP. And what I was trying to find out here, and I don't know if maybe you know this, Vash, what villains are being showcased that we know of for sure?
Okay. So
I want to see if it aligns with what I got here.
Right.
Okay.
So the villains that were showcased by Imagineers include, there's an array, but definitely Ursula, definitely Maleficent, definitely the Chernobog. I think Jafar was in there, and I think Hades was in there as well. You can see some more of those villains right there. I believe all of these have been showcased by Imagineering as to be confirmed, incorporated into the land. That's why you're seeing them on screen right there. But according to the rumor from Drew Taylor, he's saying, look, a Maleficent-inspired e-ticket attraction, a Hades or Hercules-inspired restaurant with Panic and Pain, and also to an Ursula spinner. That's what was showcased there in the rumor category, according to the Wrap.
Now, all three
Imagineering,
of those villains,
though, please.
Yeah, all three of those villains were showcased in the Descendants alongside.
Oh, okay.
So the villains were Maleficent, Jafar, Cruella de Vil, and the Evil Queen, along with their children. So those were the main staples in the movies. obviously they're going to expand more. It looks like they're expanding more on that. But I'm seeing a little bit of a common denominator in those attractions and food with those villains that were also showcased in Descendants. I'm just wondering if maybe this was the starting point, if they needed a starting point when brainstorming. Oh, we already actually technically did this. What if we were going to do this Villains Land, why don't we take inspiration from what's called Isle of the Lost was the name of the Villains Land in the Descendants. And then you had Aradon, which is basically your Magic Kingdom, except they gave it a name in the movie. And it looked very slummy. I don't know if you've seen the Descendants movies. They're adorable. And the dancing and the music is, it's, if you're in
I've heard they're widely praised. I haven't had chance to see it myself.
The talent is there. And I enjoyed them very much. And just looking at the concept art, even though it might be a little AI generated, but when I've seen the movies, it's very slummy. I'm just seeing common denominators. So
sure.
I'm just wondering if maybe they're bringing an element of Isle of the Lost from the Descendants into this project, is what I'm saying.
All right.
But they really need to do it right. And there's an interesting one thing it says here. It is surrounded by an enchanted force field barrier that keeps the inhibitants, which are the villains, from leaving and disables their magic.
Gotcha.
That could coincide with villains meet and greets. If, let's say, we started to not see them outside of Villains Land.
Right. Why there's this
like
delineation
theming wise. I'm thinking like story theming wise.
Oh, I got you.
And then conditions, it says it's dark, slum-like, forgotten place, often referred to by the inhabitants as the Isle of the Leftovers, because they receive the unwanted used items from Aradon, which in the theme park world, we would say the Magic Kingdom, where the castle is, or Fantasyland. Inhibited, let's see, key location. Notable spots on the island include Dragon Hall, which is the school, Bargain Castle, which is Maleficent's home, interesting, and Jafar's junk shop. That would make for an interesting merch store. These are key things that we can maybe just kind of keep in our back pocket. Maybe if we start seeing, I would just find it really interesting that if they all of a sudden come up with a, Jafar's junk shop as a merch store, that's a dead giveaway of where their inspiration came from and what they're bringing to us. And look, in terms of the story within the Magic Kingdom, it could work. And this is me being optimistic. It could work. So as long as they keep the villains in their villain land and the villains are acting and they're in character and in their roles, they're basically kind of complaining about where they are. Because in the movies they did. In the Descendants, they were very much like, oh yeah, we're in this place. Oh, we don't have our magic anymore, and they're kind of disgruntled, but they're villains. They're supposed to be disgruntled,
right?
And then that gives a sense of safety for the kids. Oh, they can't hurt you because remember, there's that enchantment spell and villains can't hurt you. This is my creative brain running right now.
We could very well be seeing that. And MJ, I've relayed to you some of the ideas that we've at least heard in rumors, now mixed in with Erika's thoughts, which I think there's something there. I think there is something there as it relates to the Descendants, that's for sure.
Perhaps there's something there that wasn't there before.
Exactly, right? MJ, okay, to recap, right? Okay, Maleficent inspired e-ticket attraction. Now I remember an Emperor's New Groove inspired Slinky Dog Dash like coaster and an Ursula spinner. You've had some time to reflect on all of these points and more. Are you convinced that this is the way to go when it comes to Villains Land?
I just I can't agree with you enough about Villains Land being Fantasyland 2.0. I think that everyone kind of got in over their heads when they saw this extremely beyond fictitious concept art that doesn't even make sense. Ron was absolutely right. It looks like people are walking into an ocean or getting baptized. I don't understand why there's people standing in the water. This concept art is not what we're getting at all. Just erase it
I
from
don't
your
think so.
brain. Erase it from your brain completely. I could see the Yzma and Kronk coaster. I'm almost to the point where I think it could be a little bit of a Mount Everest situation. And this is why, because there's a lot of, in a villain's layer, or like, I'm thinking about the Evil Queen, Maleficent, and all these, they're trapped in like, usually like these tall towers, and there's like usually like mountains and like lots of trees and stuff like that. I could see a Yzma and Kronk coaster being kind of like a Mount Everest situation. I don't think we're going to get a Slinky Dog Dash ride kind. I don't know why I'm honing in on that Mount Everest deal. I just, something tells me, but I think what might happen is you're going to walk into something similar to what you walk into when you go to Fantasyland, and it's just going to be villains themed. It's not going to be like these high rises of, trees and like a forbidden forest. At Disneyland, California Disneyland, I don't know if it's in Disneyland or the Adventure, but when you guys have your Halloween, the Oogie Boogie Bash, that area where you could walk into and do trick-or-treating, and it's all villains. It's like a forest. It's like a mystic.
Yeah, it's Villains Grove at
Thank you.
Oogie Boogie Bash, yeah.
Okay, I'm picturing a Villains Grove situation for Villains Land, if that makes any sense.
That's why I included it in the B-roll here, because that really has been our only depiction of a villains-themed area in any park that I can really think of. Maybe there's been a couple of different depictions.
I mean, just look at this. Look at the people standing in the water. What part of this do you really think, besides the fire-breathing dragon, that they could mimic, because Harry Potter World has their dragon on top of Green Goblin? Okay, so they could do that if they really want to put their minds to it. That's not a no-brainer. But the water fountains coming out of these big old towers, and you see all the rock work and the mountains and all of that. That's why I was thinking that coaster could be something like a Mount Everest situation. That's why I paused the B-roll. I'll play it now. Sorry.
All right, Ron, go ahead, please.
I feel like there is currently one sort of villains themed area at the Disney complex, but it's in Burbank, and it's called the C-Suite. So that's been our villains area for the last several years.
That's true. That's true. It's just down the Burbank line right there.
I sent in the back.
Unfortunately,
I sent in the back images.
Yep.
It's a website with images of the movie Descendants and what the island looked like. My hope is that Disney, if they had any sense, God gave a mule, they would be pulling from the island one was, I don't know, it's like a roll of, there you go. Mm-hmm. So you have an archway. I'm wondering if they're going to incorporate some kind of archway like that.
I wouldn't be surprised, because you have to make it, I think, distinct from nearby Cars Land, right? There's got to be a transition point being made there.
It's got to look ugly. It has to look spooky. It's got to look,
it's got to look spooky.
I would think so.
It's villain. It's a villain's land. Actually, I should call it the villain's lair is what they should call it.
When we have, right now off of Liberty Square, which I hope stays Liberty Square, but I'm kind of, I don't know that it will for a whole lot longer. But when you look over in Walt Disney World, specifically at the Magic Kingdom, Memento Mori, and the Haunted Mansion, there is that, feeling of what they say, foreboding. It's just, you can tell there's a difference. You can tell that but when you walk into the queue of the Haunted Mansion, while it's a Haunted Mansion, it's fun. I'm hoping that's what happened with the changeover. Maybe in the initial designs it was too scary, and Josh Tomorrow said, okay, it's a little too scary. We want to make it more whimsical and fun to kind of match that same feeling that people get when they're going through the Haunted Mansion. I've never felt scared or fear at the Haunted Mansion. I've just felt like the same kind of feeling that a kid feels when they're trick-or-treating on Halloween. It's that fun dress up. It's not horror, like in your face, blood, guts, gore. It's I don't know. It's maybe it's more like making fun of the evil stuff out there, or whatever you'd say. But I want Villains Land. I just want the whole area to be done right. And the one thing I'll say is that the longer they go without telling us what's happening, the longer all of us in the Disney community have to speculate on the things, good or bad. So they got to come up with something, like I said, sooner rather than later. So especially if they want the talk about this land to get good and to start veering away from the sadness that we all see when we see the destruction of Rivers America. You walk into Magic Kingdom right now and you look at and you see what's happening with the construction behind the wall, which surrounds all of Frontierland, and without Big Thunder even being reopened right now, it's just truly sad. And there's a narrative that's building around that they got to stop. And I mean, it's going to be really hard to stop it because Rivers of America is just it's broken hearts, right? We'll see. Vash, I got to get you some B-roll. I got some B-roll from the monorail the other day.
Please.
Some of that back there, and I got that. Hey. I got to get that to you, but it's amazing. There's a lot of land that they have a lot of available space to do things with, and I hope they use it well.
I hope so too, because
there's no turning back now.
At this point,
that's like my theme song. That's my theme song.
So much.
I get it. I completely understand. The mom with a question: could Big Thunder be getting a reskin to fit Villains Land? It is very possible to do whatever they would like to Big Thunder to incorporate into Villains Land. The question is, will they? Here's the thing: if they were going to do that, you'd think they would be doing that now, given that Big Thunder is currently down and a repaint has already taken place. You would have thought that they would have had a little bit of foresight in maybe incorporating into this land. They still could. I know they're still reformulating aspects of this, but it sounds like to me more likely is that they'll block off that view of Big Thunder with maybe their own coaster incorporated in the land. We'll have to see. That's what the plans relay, at least right now, which is, I think, very, very interesting. For some reason, we had a member
I saw that
in StreamYard. I don't know how that quite happened, but hey, you know what? We're on the way towards membership.
I think Ron mentioned that it's a member from his channel that's watching. So hello, and we had a question. Someone had a question about the riverboat. Vash, do you know anything about the riverboat? Do you think they're going to send that to Paris?
Okay, so let's see here. From Paul M. At least make the riverboat into a floating restaurant or ship it off to Disneyland Paris to replace the wretched Mark Twain. Yeah. Oh boy, the story of the Mark Twain at Disneyland Paris is not a good one, unfortunately. They have let that thing completely rot behind the scenes there. I don't even think it's even at a point where it could even be restored. I mean, that's how damaged that has become. Obviously, they have the Molly Brown, which is a side wheeler, and they had the Mark Twain. They had dual operations for a long time, for at least for a little while, until maintenance became an issue. They retired one boat there. Not good. I would love to see the Liberty Bell be reused for that. It doesn't seem like they're doing that, though. It seems like they're going to use that as maybe a prop for the what is it?
Another bar.
Grand Floridian. So
okay, I could see that. Mm-hmm.
Another Grand Floridian bar.
Maybe a bar
on the water.
Could be a bar. That's a very possible thing that they could do, and very, very easy. Look, I remember seeing concepts more than 10 years ago now. They drained Rivers of America, but the Liberty Bell stayed and was converted into a restaurant a la Tiana's Palace. That's what I remember seeing. So, I think exactly right. They still have plans to keep it in some form, some fashion, but getting it shipped out to Disneyland Paris, unfortunately now, a pipe dream.
Probably cheaper just to build a new boat than to ship it overseas, piece by piece, and have to rebuild it.
Yeah, probably. Oh, so sad. So very true right there. But we just want to go ahead and keep you guys updated on what's actually going on with Villains Land, and what we're hearing, what we're seeing right there, because it's definitely a story that has captivated the entire world, as people are very interested to see what Imagineering actually brings out for the villains after such a long wait to get this. Now with Rivers of America gone, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're hoping that this is going to be good. I don't know, though. Family-friendly direction, I don't know if that was the way to go. Magic Kingdom, I get it. But so, Levy, we will see. I saw that, MJ, we had a question earlier in the chat as well, talking about, hey, how close are you to beginning monetized? And I will say, we're about roughly halfway there. So to all of you watching right now, awesome. Thank you so much, because you help us get to that goal for sure. And hey, if you didn't catch the first part of the stream, hey, why don't you go ahead and go back and replay it, because that would help us out very much too. But a lot of you have been really responding to the content we've been providing here on Vash Sky ParkCast. There's awesome stuff. 1,000 subscribers. We don't even have a video yet, and yet we have 1,000 subscribers. That is super cool. We're going to be celebrating that tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, which everybody on the panel is obviously very much invited, because I think that'll be really, really fun to celebrate that. But there are more stories that we could have covered. We just, unfortunately didn't have time. But I wanted to go ahead and thank Drew for coming on. I think that was pretty cool. It was really, really cool to have somebody like that on, somebody so closely connected to the media circuit.
I love that so much.
Disney.
Love that, because that generation, whether we like it or not, because I don't agree with all the things my two daughters do, and they are Drew's age, and I just want to choke them. But we have to love them, because they are the generation of the future. They are the ones that are going to be sitting in those CEO roles, or being president of a company, or whatever it is. They have to do it, and it's like so cool to see the perspective and the thoughts of how they feel, and how now I know how boomers felt about millennials. I'm like, sorry, but we have to embrace it, whether we like it or not. They are the future. And he's very knowledgeable. He had a lot of insight, and I was just absorbing every piece of information that he had to offer. And I was so honored to be on the panel with him today. It was great having Drew on. Thank you so much, Vash, for everything you do for all of us here on your channel. It's fantastic stuff. Yeah.
I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Oh God!
Is that the lyrics to Horizons?
It's
Probably.
No, it's the lyrics too. It's a Whitney Houston song.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Greatest love of all. The
greatest
greatest
love
love of
of
all.
That song. That's a great song. Love that song. Yeah.
But now, Ron, you have the dish actually coming up at least 5:30 my time. That would be what, 7:30 Eastern, if I'm not mistaken, right there. Let me go ahead and
7:30 Eastern.
Put the link to that in the chat. And then I'll go ahead and put that on screen right now. Let's see right here, because we want to make sure that we support every one of our panelists, including Ron from Follow the Bradley's Fun. Ron, what you got going on in the dish tonight?
I haven't. I do. I know that one of the things that we want to talk about a little bit more about on the dish was, and I haven't put it up yet, which is going to be the increased ridership at Disneyland, because that's huge. Over 2025, the millions of more rides, because that's what people want. We want to talk about value. So absolutely that, and probably some other things that I just haven't had a chance to get to yet, but I will. So a lot of good
if you need more resources on that story, by the way, I'll send it over to your way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, we haven't I literally put this up. That's why there's like just this one during the show today, because I did my workout early so that I could work on the show after this show.
Well, perfect. Well, hey, look, it all kind of flows, right? I wish I had the ability to redirect to somebody, but in lieu of that, you're just going to have to follow the link. That's going to be in the chat right now. And looks like Four Leaf Shogi also has some links for us to share with our friends out there. Very, very cool. Erika, what do you got coming on?
Shogi.
What do you got going on over there on Brute Banter over there on Hanging with Erika and Raf?
Same old. Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern after that Park Place. We just kind of gather and talk a lot of smack. And I know we have a good time. And the conversation can go from very lighthearted and all the way to downright, to say adult jokes. So it's not really for children. But we have a lot of fun. Yeah. Please subscribe.
That's cool.
Would love it. Would love to
Yes.
have more subs.
Go over there to subscribe. Definitely support Erika and the lovely Raf over there with their efforts on their channel and with Brood Banter as well. It's a fun show. Definitely come on over, guys. Really, honestly, they're very much worth supporting over there. That is for sure. And it's great show. Great program. For sure. And then, MJ, I see us simul streaming on some of these. Were you able to set that up in the background right there?
Well, you know what? I still have to do that. I'm like not doing that, and I probably need to. I'll do it ahead of time next time. I do. Thank you so much. I am on Instagram and X, and Four Leaf Shogi, thank you for my link. I really appreciate that. It's a pleasure being on here with you guys and all the things, man. This is just a great place to be, and I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. MagicalyMJ is doing a fantastic job on the various channels, that being on WWE Pro, that Park Place, and everywhere else. So definitely check her out on her X right there, along with, follow the Bradley's Fun, The Dish, and also Brute Banter over there on Erika and Raf. Very cool.
I have something I have to say for Erika too. Erika's over in Germany, and being as she's in Germany, I feel like she should have more links because Germany and links go together, like sausage links. And
I knew there was a dad joke in there. I'm just waiting for it.
I'm just really hungry right now. All I can think about is food at the moment. I want to eat. I want good bratwurst and knockwurst.
Yeah, I'm getting a little hungry myself.
Oh, by the way, Aldi's has bratwurst, and they are imported from Germany. You just have to look on the package.
Oh my
and they're legit.
That's interesting.
They are legit. Just look on the package, and it'll tell you that it came from Germany, and that's the real deal.
That's so cool. Good to know.
Cool. Well, I want to go ahead and thank every single one of you Skyliners out there who have decided to subscribe and who have joined us here. We had I think we topped at 250 on the various platforms. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome stuff. Fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in right there. And it looks like you all enjoyed the content right there. Hey, it got a little interesting in the chat for a little while right there, but as we bring on more voices, hey, we're gonna have more opinions right there. And I think most of you out there, you handle yourself very much okay. I want to go ahead and thank our mods out there for keeping that chat nice and clean.
Wait till Lauren comes on.
That's true.
Who?
I want to thank MJ for producing, the producer extraordinaire. She's been doing a fantastic job. Every single one of our panelists, that includes Drew the Disney Dude, Erika, Ron, all of you have been doing phenomenally. So thank you so much for joining us here for this amazing program. Remember, folks, tomorrow, 1K subscriber celebratory stream right there. That's going to be Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern right there. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely check that out. Make sure to tune back in. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of friends on there. Maybe a Jonas J. Campbell. Maybe Theme Park Wizard. Maybe Orange Grove 55. Maybe. Possibly. Come on, guys. Join us on. But I saw some of you guys in the chat right there, including OG, including Deborah, Nathan, Texas, 8412 right there. Saw Brer Oswald in the chat. BR Geist, everybody. Awesome stuff. The Mum, indeed as well. Mum, I thought you couldn't join us for this one. Well,
Theme Park Wizard popped in for a little bit. We had a lot of people today.
Had a lot of people. That's great. Somebody was saying, should we have your streams on in the back in order to help with monetization? I can't necessarily encourage that, but if you wanted to do that, that might be a way that these things, happen. It's very interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everybody out there, and thank you. Remember, folks, the sky is the limit.